I'm Chris Trott from Team TaylorMade. These two guys do not need an introduction, but I'm going to give it you. It's Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, and this, I need you all to take cover because it's the attack zone. Okay, fellas, we are out here at 111 yards. Dustin, in the game of football, 20 yards and in is the red zone, right?
Yep.
You educate me. I'm not even going to ask my man. I know he knows.
I have no idea what you're talking
Really?
about. No.
That's the scoring zone. Same deal in golf. Obviously, this is the scoring zone. Talk us through, boys, and feel free to start striking up there, hit some shots. But talk us through what you're doing, and we'll have a little competition, see who can hit it closer, what the score can be.
But scoring clubs is, what, 9-iron down, kind of? Maybe
Yeah,
wedge,
I mean,
wedges.
150 in.
Yeah, so pretty much any wedge in your bag is definitely a scoring club. You know, we would probably go to, 9-iron, maybe 8-iron would be kind of your scoring clubs. But,
Okay.
But yeah, wedges for sure.
So what clubs are you holding here for this shot?
I've got a sand wedge.
Me too, 54
Yeah,
for me.
I've got the same, 54.
Okay. We'll hit some in there. Show us what you got.
Cool.
But yeah, definitely from here is definitely attack zone. We're pretty much, no matter where the flag is, we're going at it.
Okay.
We're trying to hit it close.
So what's the thinking on this one? Down, breeze, a little off
So
the left?
going off the left, I have like a little, like my shortest swing with my 54 goes 105. So I'm sort of trying to play that, maybe just a touch over that swing, just with it being a little bit of help, and that should be a good distance.
Yep. So same with me. Actually, my half 54 goes 105.
Okay.
So that's the shortest for shots that I have.
And a half 54 with feel or a half with like a club face position? Pretty impressive.
What?
Half with it, is it feel for the half 54?
Yeah, so it's not really like, I don't know how far back it goes. I just know it's I call it my half swing.
Yeah.
And it's more just take it back and then kind of accelerate
go.
through. So there is a certain position that I stop, but where that is, I'm not really
Sure.
worried about. I practice it enough on the range that,
Yeah, for me, it's when I feel like my left shoulder hits my chin. That's when it's time to start going
Transition.
Uh,
Again. And then
so that is probably really similar for myself. I just don't think about it like that. But
Rory, you had a high bounce wedge yesterday. Same deal on this club?
Yep. Yeah, high bounce 54.
Talk to us about that. What's that giving you out of this turf, and what do you think it gives you on a full shot?
Yeah, so for me, I've never, we grew up in the same place where we played a lot of links golf, and I never thought about using different bounces because I never felt like I needed it. We played off tight turf, and usually when you have that, you use a low bounce wedge.
Yeah.
But the majority of the golf we play now is Bermuda or bent, or we play links golf once a year. So tried a high bounce wedge and really liked it. I liked that it didn't dig as much. It got out of the turf a little quicker. Felt like the ball flight came down a lot, which is, when you can control your trajectory on your wedges, it means that you can control your distance better.
And spin.
That's been the big thing with me is this high bounce. I never really tried one before, and I've tried it the last few weeks and I've really liked it.
I mean, I feel like too especially with wedges, 60, 50, your sand wedge, your pitch and wedge, hitting good shots and getting it close to the hole, it's all about controlling the spin. So knowing how much it's going to spin, that sort of thing, that's how you get it close to the hole. So, but you do that with the flight, obviously. The lower you flight it, it's not going to necessarily spin back as much, or it might at least get that hop forward so it doesn't.
And then I think as well, one of the reasons that DJ and I are using our 50, like we could both get our lob wedges to this pin, but they're just going to spin off the green.
So controlling the spin, and that brings in golf ball, right?
Yeah.
You're both using X's?
Yep.
Yes.
Does that come in for decision on this?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we're trying to take spin. We're trying to take spin off like the wedges, just so like it sort of hits and sort of stays where it lands. So yeah, I mean, using the TP5x, it just has that little less spin, which helps.
How much time would you both spend on this area of your game?
I've started to spend a lot more. So if you think about it, we're both two of the longer players on tour. Every 2 tournaments, basically, that we play, we're going to have 100 shots from inside 150 yards. So when you or at least close to between 80 and 100. So when you think about it like that, that's a lot of scoring opportunities. So that it should make up a big part of our game, because if we drive it well, we're just going to get so many chances at this distance.
For me, I spend 70% of my practice probably with wedges. Maybe more. I mean, if you count chipping and putting, it's probably more like 85%.
Yeah. You're a big one on the look of the wedge, right?
Yeah, well, it's with anything. I mean, if it doesn't look good to you, it's going to be really hard to hit a good shot. I mean, especially for myself, because I'm a big field player. So if I don't feel like I'm going to hit a good shot, I've got no chance.
Yeah. And I see you both obviously cleaning that raw face over and over. I think that's probably something that's overlooked as well by amateurs.
Well, for me, I don't ever hit a golf shot on the course with a club dirty. So why would I ever practice with it dirty?
Yeah.
I know it takes a little bit more time because you got to wipe your club off, but I like to practice how I'm going to play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm never going to pull a dirty club out and hit it on the golf course. So why would I hit dirty ones on the range?
Yeah. And then what about these raw faces, Rory? I mean, you've been into them now for a while.
Yeah.
What's that giving you as a player?
I think, obviously it means that you're going to get a little more spin, but I think it's more the consistency that the ball is going to come out with the same launch and the same spin every time. It's more consistency rather than wanting as much spin as possible. It's just making sure that the ball comes out the same way every single time.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
I would imagine you're fairly similar to me. My 60 degree, I want that to spin as much as possible. This, once I get, with the sand wedge, and I don't want it to have a ton of spin. Obviously you want some spin, but like the 60, I switch that, every couple weeks because I really want it to grip. But where my sand wedge, I'll play it for, a few months probably. Just because, I don't want it ripping back as much as I do want my 60 to have spin though.
Yeah, I probably change my lob wedge between 6 and 8 times a year, and I'd maybe use 2 sand wedges a year and 2 pitching wedges. Because the thing as well is you're hitting bunker shots more with the lob wedge, and then that raw face that you're talking about, that just gets worn down the more you practice and the more bunker shots you hit, and so you want to try to keep that as fresh as possible.
But I do, because that's always the club in my bag I want to spin.
Yeah.
Because you don't, unless we're playing firm, really, really firm greens, we're not hitting full lob wedges very often.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's always like some kind of shot, or you're chipping with it or hitting bunkers.
Yeah.
So that's where you want to spin.
Yeah.
Where we do hit a lot of full sand wedges or pitching wedges.
So obviously the raw face has changed a lot over time. So now you've got those raised micro ribs in between. It's new. High bounce, I know, on a full shot gives you a different feel as well. Off speed is where the raised micro ribs make a difference. Are you feeling that versus the previous model? Have you noticed anything? And also, how long is it going to take until one of you boys holes one of these? I feel like, what would you say, you can get a hole out in the next few shots with this amount of balls? When is that coming in this attack zone?
I think now we know, it's probably you need to land it, so it's a 111 shot, but you actually need to land it beyond that because the tilt of the green and everything. So I'd say if you both give us another 10 balls each, we're going
we're going to scare it.
Well, let's scare it.
Actually holing it. I mean, you don't actually hole very many shots if you think about how many you hit. So
you got a challenge now. I know you like a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to, like I said, we're going to scare it.
That will scare it. Shot.
Yeah, I mean, the last two I've hit scared it, but
Definitely.
getting it to actually drop in is a little more difficult.
You've closed out a couple of tournaments, haven't you? Certainly one I can think of with a hole out.
Yeah, that was a 9-iron though.
They've both been good. Sound and the consistency is ridiculous. It's good there.
And too, like, if you're watching them, my ball, his ball, the spin's kind of the same every time, so it makes it, obviously it's a lot easier to go to different courses. You just judge how firm the greens are. Obviously these are a little soft and they're fast, so they're gonna spin a lot.
But even with the X, it's cool to see you control it. Like that one there that Rory's just hit didn't zip off the front, you know?
Whee.
Mine just
Controlled.
didn't carry far enough, but it didn't have a ton of spin. Yeah, it's controlled. But like hitting this shot, I could sit here and hit this shot all day. It's really good practice and it's fun.
And with your practice, do you move around yardages a lot or do you stick on?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
I've sort of realized for me, like DJ obviously spends quite a bit of time on TrackMan and does that. Like obviously you need to know your numbers and stuff, but for me, I think the best practice is getting out on the course and hitting shots and having to over bunkers and like have definition and play little shots in. That's something that you can't really replicate on the range.
Yeah, I agree.
my time on the range I spend on the wedges, but I'm always just working on carry distance, and then I play a lot. So kind of the same thing he's talking. I get better practice on the golf course, but I still spend a lot of time on the range just working on those numbers. So
yeah,
making sure I'm hitting my numbers and controlling my distance.
Go.
This one, I think it is.
It's good, Rory.
There we go. This one's gonna
Little
have a
short,
chance
maybe.
right here. This one's got a chance.
Oh, aye.
Right by it.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Well, I finally landed one far enough back there.
Go the other way, Trotty. Try and play around with it. Little draw.
That's nice there. Would you ever do that spin against the slopes?
Yeah.
For sure. There's another one.
Keeps it interesting as well.
Yeah, and it's
Important.
you challenge yourself, right?
Yeah.
Just hitting different shots, different trajectories, different shapes.
And too, depending on the flag, where it is, the slope of the green, like I'll turn my wedges over, hold it against the wind, just depending on.
To spin it a certain way as well on the green.
Well, yeah, and just sometimes it's just easier. And two, if I draw it, it takes a little bit of the spin off, so it's not going to spin as much. So like this shot, knowing this course and the greens, probably would turn it, especially with this wind, just to take some of the spin off. Because all my normal stock shots with the high cut is just spinning too much. So I'd probably take it in a hair lower and a little right to left just to knock some of that spin down.
So as a player coming out on tour versus where your wedge play is now, how did you learn and pick up all these things? More by watching the best players or by asking questions?
Yeah, I think watching and we play with so many different players week in, week out that you see what certain guys do well and you see like common denominators. Like I feel like all the best wedge players that I've played with just control their trajectory really well. Like, the windows of where they're hitting, and they always seem to play the right shot. So to me, that was a big thing. I needed to learn how to control my trajectory with wedges to become a decent
So how
wedge
did you
player.
do that? How did you improve on that?
By not hitting full wedges a lot. You know, by sort of trying to take distance off, trying to really regulate the swing and the number. And so I very rarely, you know, unless it's a front pin and you're going to throw it 7 or 8 yards past and rip it back, you're never really hitting a full wedge that much.
Yeah.
So there's only a few courses, I imagine, that demand that a year, like US Open.
Yeah,
it's
where
hard.
you'd need to like
Where it's
throw it
hard.
way up in the air.
Like I said, conditions dictate a lot of it, but
Yeah.
most of the time, we're really not going to hit a full wedge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, full pitching wedge, yes, but full sand wedge and full lob wedge, it spins
Like a
so
full
much.
sand wedge here is actually okay because you can throw
Yeah.
it to the back edge and
Yeah.
rip it back.
But it's just very often, you know, unless you have like that perfect number where it's downwind, the conditions are right, where you can hit a full, you know, or it's a, you know, you got 120 and your full wedge goes 125 and you know it's going to spin back a little bit. All right, that's a, you know, a perfect situation to hit a full
Yeah.
sand wedge. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
but more often than not, you never have just your dead stock number.
Yep.
So you're always trying to.
Find something. Now, when you don't have your dead stock number, do you take the number that is stock and bring the pace out, or do you go the number that's shorter and try and hit it further, or does that again all depend on green
the
conditions?
player, and I think, you know, yeah, I mean, I think it's just the player. But a lot of times, like, say if I've got 118 and
Yeah.
my 3/4 sand wedge goes 115, I'll make the 3/4 swing and then just put just a hair more into it.
Yeah.
You know, rather than going full swing and trying to take a little bit off.
Yeah. So you always try and be accelerating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't exactly.
Both those ones were dirty club face. What's that?
58. Can you get that there?
Probably I'll try.
So there was mud on the sand, on the face, and it was not spinning as much? or-
Yeah, and it launched really high.
Okay, so the launch changed because you couldn't get
Yeah, this
to
is
the...
I got to back foot this and hit this as hard as I can to get it there.
60?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually playing a lot further. But I think that's there. It's just gonna spin.
Look at it though. It's spinning. Landed past the pin and it's like spinning back
It's
off the green.
still got pretty good yardage out of it.
Yeah. Gotta hit like a big trap draw to get it there. All right, Trotty, I'm gonna start one.
Okay.
I'm gonna start one over
Hook
the
it in there.
I'm gonna hook one in there. Start it at the bunker.
How about this for practice, hitting
Yeah,
the...
There you
no,
go.
see, for
That's
this
got a
shot,
chance.
Go.
Oh, that was nice.
Oh.
For this shot, I would probably use this club.
Okay.
Yeah, for me.
So you got the one option of hooking one in there like he's just demonstrated perfectly for us, which I love.
But, you know, because even with the sand wedge here, I feel like it's spinning too much to control it.
Yeah.
Especially too, because behind the flag is even more pitch. So the further back you hit it, it's got more spin. It's actually going to spin even more.
Yeah.
Because I just landed a couple way past it and spun it off the front.
As a result of the hill and the spin, yeah.
Right. So I would.
So
I
now
would,
you're taking spin off, taking
Right.
hill out of
So
it.
this is my wedge.
See, I've got
My smallest swing with a wedge was like 125. So like I'm trying to do that. It's gonna maybe just take a touch more off that to try to get it to the right number.
And
was
so
nice.
I actually just
That was
put
really
in
good.
I just put in a gap wedge. So I would use my gap wedge here. I got a 50.
See, I love that flight.
But for me, I would
the
use
sort of
I would
flight you're
use
looking
that
for.
shot because I know I can fly it, you know, right to the hole, and it's just gonna
Yeah.
stick there.
So Rory, this is a MG3 and not a set wedge. How did you make that decision?
I don't know. I like. I don't know if I feel like I've got a little more control with it or the feel's just a little nicer. I think it's like I see my pitching wedge as part of the other, like the set of MG3 wedges. I don't. Yeah, like I've always thought a pitching wedge is more similar to like a 54 and a 60 than it is a 9-iron.
Yep.
So that's why I've always went sort of
Yep.
MG3. I've went back and forth over the years, but I've
Yeah, I
always
noticed
seemed
that.
to come back to this.
So, for me,
Yeah, you're the other way, right? You
yeah,
always
I
play
use the
set wedge.
pitching wedge just because it definitely doesn't spin as much, but I feel like for me, I could control the spin and trajectory better with it.
Yeah.
Because again, a pitching wedge, it's not, I don't want it to peel back.
Yeah.
Even when I hit a full one, you know, even a full one into, you know, these greens that are soft, it's not going to rip back
Yeah.
for me. And so that's why I like it. And I mean, I don't know, I used to play the 48 like this.
Yeah.
You know, just a wedge for a long time, and then I don't know. Tiger doesn't use one. He was when I first got on tour.
Yeah.
You know, my first few years on tour, and he's an unbelievable wedge player.
And that's a
And-
good point. Like, how much impact has he had on both of you when it comes to scoring
For
clubs?
sure. I mean, that was another one of the reasons. And then once I started using it, I actually liked it more.
Mm.
Just because I felt like sometimes in the rough, like with my normal wedge, I feel like the ball comes out
More how you
better,
expect,
more
yeah.
consistently. Where sometimes with a wedge like that, like I'll get one that'll come out with spin, or you know, one that
So it's
you know,
full
I just-
shots. Tiger have any impact on you, Rory, when it came to wedge play, and just when you got to play with him the first few times, or even
Yeah,
now?
I mean,
what-
I think it was well documented at the start of his career. He used to play he used to hit a lot of wedges at full speed and struggled to control his distance, and over the years he worked on controlling his ball flight, controlling his trajectory,
come on.
and he
That's gotta be-
he turned
That
into
one-
he turned into
I
a
don't
really
know if I couldn't tell, but
turned into a really, really good wedge player.
Yeah. Just
So-
from controlling the flight, taking the
Yeah.
speed out,
Yeah.
having positions, doing
Yeah.
everything you've been saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And divots, to be fair, I know it's here and they explode a bit, but they're not that deep for either of you, right?
No,
No,
you try to
it-
be sort of,
true.
especially with the shorter ones, where you're taking speed off. You try to
not take. But
be
another
quite
reason we're
shallow.
on
Into it.
upslope,
Yeah.
so the divot's going to be
Be
a little
deeper.
bit deeper.
And it's still not deep, though.
No,
That's always the thing with you, Dustin. I always think the sound is a little different when you hit it because you're so shallow.
yeah, I mean, just upslope though, you're always just going to take a little
I
bit
get
more.
that.
Yeah.
But when I see you hit around the world and I see you
Yeah.
loosen up, I'm like, always sounds a little different,
Well,
which is a
the
good
steeper
thing.
you get, the harder it is to control the distance.
Definitely.
Because
That's
then you're
right,
changing the face
100%.
angle and you're changing the law.
Yeah, I'm saying it that I love it.
Yeah. And two, with
Compliment.
I'm
wedge-
trying to
I'm
give him a
compliment.
compliment. I know it's very rare
Yeah.
from me, but I'm trying to give him one.
No, I get what you're saying. Thank you.
Take that 54 again. Nice. Yeah, that does sound a little different, doesn't it?
I always think it does,
Yeah.
but that's just because I observe a lot and you obviously are in the moment.
But yeah, I know, like, on the range, if my, you know, clubs getting too, my divots are too big or something, you know, obviously I'm not doing something right. And
For you,
generally it's
yeah.
because I'm just hanging on the left side. And-
Yeah.
But divots can tell you a lot about how you're swinging or what you're doing. So,
Definitely. Running out of balls here. I feel like we almost have seen one go in. This is close too. You're dancing around it.
I think some of my closest ones have been the little draws I've hit in there. Sort of went the other way.
I've had a couple scare it with the other wedge, but this one I've had. So all my shots with this wedge have been, you know, say around that 10-foot range where they're all makeable birdies, where with the sand wedge, just because it's spinning so much.
Zip.
Yeah, I hit a couple good ones, but I've hit 10 shots with this, and I think I have probably my 5 closest balls have been with this club.
Yeah.
Just keeping it close to the hole.
When I look at your divot patterns, they're good on the depth, but maybe a little off the left. Is that because you're trying to play the slope?
No, I just, all my divots, they
Always go a little left.
just because I,
the way
you know,
you pass.
well, I cut it.
Yeah.
So obviously if I was drawing it, my divot
Good.
would be a little more straighter at
Like
the flag.
that. And then lie angles. I've been with a lot of great players, and they will talk about sometimes wanting their wedges to be a little bit flatter.
Yeah.
Where's your two's view on that?
Yeah, if anything, I would tend to go flatter just because I would rather that toe grab a little bit so it
And
opens.
you like the fade.
Well, even when you draw it, you don't want that heel to grab.
Because it's dead.
Yeah, especially with a
Yeah, like
wedge.
you.
You just don't want it grabbing. So
You don't come off your set though, you keep grading through your set, right?
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I mean, if anything, get a little toe deep with irons anyway, so I don't want them to be any flatter than what they should be. So I just sort of try to keep it consistent.
I'm just saying specifically with wedges, if anything, they might be say a ½ degree,
Smidging flat.
just a smidgen, just because, you know, the worst shot with the wedge is that heel grab that goes left,
Yeah, I
shuts
hear
the
you.
face down, and goes
Yeah.
too far. You know, you seem to never get in trouble if it comes out a little, maybe softer and to the right. You know, the ones you get in trouble with is that pull that goes too far.
So you've both got your favorite wedge of choice now. Let's see who can get the closest out of the next 3 balls
Okay. Need that towel off you there,
for
Trotty.
all the prizes here.
All the marbles. What is the prize? Does it mean one of us can dunk you again?
No, the dunk is out the question. I was
Okay.
looking for a prop, but maybe you get some Hershey's chocolate or something.
There you
That's all
go.
we got hanging around.
Cadbury
So that was
chocolate,
good.
Trotty. What do you mean Hershey's chocolate?
Cadbury's down. Well, we went with red zone, so I was trying to keep it Americanized for us.
Sorry, I just hit one pretty close.
How's this?
That's pretty good. How many have you
Creeping
hit?
back
2?
towards it.
One.
That's nice there. Picked it.
It's going right.
Yeah, I'm 4 feet right. The other one's 4 feet left. Next one might be in the bucket. But the distance was perfect on the last 2, so that's what I'm looking for. Because then, if your distance is good, you can be, you know, 8, 9 feet, you know, 8 feet left, 8 feet right.
Yeah.
You still got an 8-footer if you have
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
distance.
All about hitting the distance, being consistent.
Nice. Real nice shot.
Yep. That one might be a hair closer.
Who's closest out of the 2 of you at the moment?
Don't know.
Hard to tell with half the driving range down there.
There's a lot of ball marks we got to repair.
No
up there.
joke, yeah. Not fancying that job.
No.
We could hit at the same time and see.
Yeah, go on.
All right. Hold on, I gotta get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm about ready. You call it.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, I pushed mine a little.
Mine looks pretty good.
Yeah, you got me on that one. Right distance, I just pushed it.
Bar of Cadbury's, Rory.
There you
Gets
go,
it.
thanks. Dairy milk?
It might cost me a bit to get it here from England, but yeah.